Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and a lot went down yesterday in the competitive Call of Duty community. Today we're going to dive into the roster mania chaos which continues to go on behind the scenes right now ahead of the beginning of Stage 3 here on Thursday. Really in Stage 2 there were two teams that kind of underperformed. We expected it might make roster changes. That now seems to be the case, but the fashion in which they're making these changes is very questionable indeed. Enjoy taking your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Just thought I'd mention this quickly before we begin the video, because yesterday I was kind of talking about the standoff rumour, even though in the title and pin comment I said okay it was confirmed, because it indeed was confirmed later in the day, but I didn't get the opportunity to re-record it unfortunately ahead of that video going out. But I thought well, it probably was worth it anyway, and well, I thought I'd let you know today. We're going to talk about it in more detail actually later today, the standoff stuff, and also some other things that are coming in here with Season 3, which may have some pretty big implications for how the season plays out going forwards. Let's dive into this stuff then. So firstly, let's talk about New York, because New York are in a really interesting spot right now. We know they've been making some significant roster shuffles with their starting team. We believe Clayster, Asim, Mac and Hydra is going to be the team right now. But as Frosty says right here, yesterday, this being Hamza of course, who's been on the New York Sutherland's Academy. So I got news today, I'll be getting cut from the Academy team. Unfortunate stuff, you know, sit out of all of the Season 3 elites. Nice stuff, baby. However, he later comes back onto the team. We'll have a look at that in a second. The rumour has it initially when people saw this, was that okay, maybe it's DiamondCon dropping down from the starting team, now getting put into the Academy squad. But then we just saw soon after that, this came out from JCap, 232-5, some team getting absolutely demolished right here by, the Los Angeles Thieves in a scrim. I tried to run this through like color correction and stuff to see if I could get through this opaque box, but it didn't happen. But Crone has the sources, and he then confirmed not too long after this actually was the New York Sutherland's Academy. They were scrimming against getting 5-point clubs by the Los Angeles Thieves. Some funny replies to this as well from Zuma. What is this? Show the names just like we used to do back in the day. And as Cheeto says, Cap, I just looked at the scrim schedule, and apparently it was scheduled into the scrim schedule that they were going to be playing FaZe at that time. But as Austin EasyMac says, the FaZe analyst, we got a talk today. We have some content to do. So clearly Los Angeles Thieves had to change the direction they wanted to take with their scrim partner, and they weren't exactly having the best time. And it's kind of funny, not too long after that then, that apparently they got bodied in scrims. It then seems like Hamza's now back on the team for the Academy. Will actually be indeed playing with the Academy 4 Season 3 Elite. Got some stuff to prove they were throwing on purpose to have you back, weren't they? So, kind of confusing. I'm not really sure what's going on here behind the scenes, but at the same time, it seems like it's possible maybe that, given that Hamza qualified for the Elite with the Academy, they then have to team with him during the Elite as well. So maybe that's what's going on. Not really sure, but still nothing really confirmed with the starting team for the Subliners, at least as of recording. But let's talk about some of these other changes then, because going into Stage 3, these are what the groups look like, and there obviously are some bangers here, right? And we see that some of the teams that were underperforming, the likes, of course, of New York, who had a 0-6 performance at the Major. Of course, Ravens was the other one that hadn't yet made a change. Los Angeles Guerrillas, another team that hadn't yet made a change. And then Mutineers and Paris, also teams that were underperforming compared to the level that they want to get at. And not so well. Of course, they're not right now. I think both of those teams aren't quite in the top 8 of the standings. And, only 8 teams get to go to the World Championship this year. So Mutineers make a change, they bring in Havoc for Slight. Paris make a change, they bring in Temp for Fire. New York are clearly making changes as well, but then it was the two other teams, right? Los Angeles Guerrillas and, London Royal Ravens, who both don't sit in the best spot right now, thinking, okay, are they just going to stick with this lineup and hope it works out? Now, okay, as I said right here in this tweet as well, Stage 2 will be incredible. All of these teams that are improving and, in a crazy spot, but the two teams I didn't really have time to mention, or have the space to mention, was LAG and the Royal Ravens. Now, those two teams both seem like they are making changes right now. Let's start then with the Ravens. So they make this change. The West Coast connection just got stronger. We're excited to announce that Zaptius will be joining us for Stage 3 alongside Shawnee, Paul-X and Zed. So, that is the team. Dylan is out of the squad, which is, I can't say it's incredibly surprising, but at the same time, just the fashion in which this change is being made, bringing Zaptius in is, kind of interesting, certainly, because there's a lot of, top North American talent, which has obviously gone into some other teams as well. I'm sure that London are going down that route, because, of course, they've had great success, really, with Paul-X, especially in his Search and Destroy game when he initially did join the team. And it is surprising to say, right at the start of the season, if you'd have told me that Shawnee would have been the only remaining player from the original Royal Ravens lineup halfway through the season, I'd have told you, okay, what's happened to make this happen? But, it seems like clearly that is the case right now. Unfortunate, of course, that Zero and Afro are stuck over in Europe right now. I'm sure their time will come at some point next season, hopefully when things get a little bit easier. But for now, this is the lineup that the Ravens are going with. So Zaptius and Paul-X, two players of the Wester team right at the start of the season, right? So Wester right at the start when they were dominating the challenges was Paulex, Zaptius, Venom, and Gravity. Venom is now over at the Los Angeles Thieves. We'll talk about Gravity here in just a second. And now Paulex and Zap are both on the Ravens squads. Now, it is an interesting change because Zaptius, I mean, there's a lot of, top tier North American talent in the challenges region. Zaptius certainly, deserves a mention up there. He's been around for a number of years, but he wasn't maybe considered next up by a lot of people. People were thinking, okay, maybe Decimate makes sense, but Zaptius coming in alongside Paulex, the existing chemistry that they have. When Paulex came in, they had a nice little honeymoon period here with the Ravens, so maybe Zaptius will help them get to that level as well. And it's not like Dylan's been incredibly impressive. His Search and Destroy has been pretty lackluster, especially in the respawns as well. He's kind of struggled at times, and even though he does go off and his individual talent is crazy, it just seems like he hasn't been able to put together really on this team. And last season as well, he had a difficult time also. I mean, there's a few maps stand out where he gets bodied by Atlanta FaZe, and you're like, okay, we can't really be having our SMGs doing this. And even though, it seemed like Zed was enabling Dylan to get some greater form, but over the last couple of weeks of Stage 2, that didn't really work out. So, changes being made, Ravens making another swap, Zaptius comes in. I mean, the amount of players they've had on their team this season is incredible. Dylan is getting replaced by Zaptius going forward. Excited and thankful for the opportunity given to me by the Ravens. Cannot wait to get to work to Zaptius. And Denters as well, pretty interesting. He has one of the best attitudes I've come across in challenges. Always believed and voiced, if you play as a team and the right way, not only do you win, you look good doing it. How do I get into the league next? Says Dens. And Ravens this season, you get a contract, everyone gets a contract, because this is who they've had so far. I mean, Paulex is in now, Zaptius is in, they've had Zed, they've had Parasite, Afro Zero, Alex, Dylan, Shawnee as well. So I'm not really sure what's going on with who they're going to remove from the team, because I'm pretty sure they can't have not all of these players are signed anymore. I think Alex has been properly released. Parasite's been properly released as well. I'm not sure they have to pay out the full contract if you then release a player. I'm pretty sure Ben said on the flank you have to pay 2 months salary or something, but then you can kind of get yourself out of the contract. So I mean, either way, Ravens are burning a lot of money to make a team which really hasn't been so successful so far. So tough spot they find themselves in, but I think it probably was due for a change. And as EasyMax says, Tom Gravity once again having a difficult opportunity here with FaZe back in 2019 when he was teamed with the likes of Simp, Cellium and those guys, and was performing really well in the amateur scene. Then everyone gets picked up but Gravity, and now a similar situation with the Wester squad. But that's just kind of what happens when you're a main assault rifle. You find yourself in a difficult spot, because how many teams in the CDL really need a main assault rifle switch up player, especially given a lot of the times the main AO is kind of the IGL and have a lot of chemistry with the rest of the team, and they might be somewhat more difficult to replace. Let's talk then about the Los Angeles Grillers. This came out last night and I was kind of amazed when I saw this from Crowd over at CDL Intel. Very high chance, sources say, that Vivid will no longer be starting for the Los Angeles Grillers. Now, of course, anything could change right here. This isn't completely set in stone. When Crowd tweets something like this, you can imagine that there's a pretty high degree of likelihood that there is something going on very similar to this behind the scenes. Unclear who would take his place, but likely a player from their academy team. So what's going on here, right? Los Angeles Grillers are a team which is in an interesting spot. They did beat FaZe not too long ago. Silly had a phenomenal finish out to Stage 2. Then they go to the Major though. Pretty sure they got 3-0'd in the very first round, and now they're out of the tournament in top 12 once again. So despite a promising finish to the stage, they still finish in a pretty lackluster position. And Vivid has really been the shining star of their team, I think. I mean, we looked at the line cards just a couple of days ago, and it was really apathy in theory that was underperforming. I mean, Silly had a good finish to the stage. Assault's always going to be a relatively solid main assault rifle, and it's been Vivid who, despite not having the best numbers, is certainly putting a lot of pressure on the map. The engagements this guy has is out of control. If you go watch this guy in terms of the eye test, he plays it in a very impressive manner, I think, and despite not necessarily putting up the most amount of kills, I think he is creating a lot of space and doing a lot of things right in that SMG role, and has honestly been pretty good also in Search and Destroy. So Vivid to me was kind of the piece of this team that I was like, okay, wow, this guy's pretty impressive. If LAG are looking to build a championship roster in future seasons, Vivid might be the piece to build around, and then you kind of think about letting some of the other guys go at certain points and making some roster changes. So okay, what's going on here? Why, if this is a management decision, why would Vivid decide, why would they bench Vivid, right? Does that make any sense? Is it team chemistry issues? And if someone's coming in from the challenger side or from their academy team, are they necessarily going to be better than Vivid? It's really strange. It does ask the question about, is it basically a friendship league, right? If the team's having issues and now Vivid's the one getting benched. Now, you don't really know if that's exactly what's going on. It's tough to say how much input the players had on this particular change. We'll look at what Silly had to say here in just a second. People are also saying, what if Vivid was just decided to bench himself because the team was underperforming? I doubt players would really do that, to be honest, because look, you get a chance on a CDL Pro League team, you've got to stick it out, right? I think it'd be a pretty poor showing of your competitive nature and your sportsmanship for the rest of your teammates, especially what you think about them if you're just going to bench yourself when things things aren't going very well. So I don't believe that's what's happened. Of course, we have no information, so all speculation right here. And plenty of people in the pro scene are very surprised about this indeed, as Jacob says, I mean, this classic gif right here, and Kenny's kind of, well, shocked about it as well, if that is indeed the case. Maybe they already know what's going on behind the scenes. Regardless, as Silly comes back and replies, you know, you guys are dumb for dropping this guy. Glue Eater, says Silly. People tweet like players that bench other players. That never happens. Get a grip. So the fact that Silly's in the thread makes it seem like, I mean, he's not exactly denying this is the case, right? So it seems that maybe that is indeed the case. And well, if that is the case, very surprising stuff. Not sure what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And then the question is there, all right, who's going to be replacing Vivid if someone comes in? How can this possibly improve their team? I can't really understand how that's ever going to be the case. I thought that if someone was going to be gone from this team, aBeZy seemed like the most likely, well, candidate to be out. I mean, in theory, if you look at some of his statistics, as much as I love aBeZy and how much of a great player he's been in Call of Duty history, he may be one of the worst performing players in the league so far this season. Silly's been solid. Assaults, of course, are kind of doing his job, and Vivid's been kind of great. So it felt like if there was one change to make, aBeZy out, someone else in, probably would have been the best decision, at least from my perspective, if I was the general manager of this team. So what's going on there right now? Very confusing indeed. This is their academy team, of course, for teams, for players to potentially come up from. You've got Chino over there, who tends to be a main assault rifle anyway, so I doubt he's going to be getting his chance in the starting team. Mental, the former Gears of War pro, as well, as kind of been talked about a fair bit. Exceed, who had his shot last year a little bit as well. And then Nero also, who's, well, looked pretty promising in some of the matches I've seen them in. The other opportunity here then is to get Paddy P Eggs back in the building. So, you know, who knows? Maybe it's possible that he's the finesse king once again. And this is, of course, the World Championship winning team of Assault, Silly, and aBeZy back in the day. And that was the talk going into the season. This is 2018 or World War II, that this LAG team was effectively just evil geniuses from 2018, minus Eggs plus Vivid. And maybe Eggs has finessed his way back into the Pro League once again. But really interesting stuff. Thought this is kind of interesting as well from GG Breaking Point, saying that look, London has been the worst S&D team this entire season by a win rate of only 25%. Dylan with a 0.72 Search and Destroy KD. So looking at it from that angle, especially given Zapchis' prowess in Search and Destroy, I'm sure you guys are aware of if you watched his play, then well, you could certainly see this change of making sense from this, well, from this perspective. You can see that this Search and Destroy win-loss 4 in 12 is not looking particularly pretty. On Express under, well, Checkmate, they haven't even got a single win. Moscow as well, that's 0 in 4. That is pretty ugly stuff to see on the timeline. And well, in just a couple of days' time, we're going to see all these teams back in action. Just on the Thursday, actually, well, Los Angeles Grillers play on the Saturday, and Ravens play on the Friday up against OpTic Gaming, so who knows whether they'll have a crazy honeymoon period going into this one, but it's going to be interesting to watch regardless. Intrigued to take your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.